Welcome to the swamp. Have you ever wanted to sail the unexplored seas with endless islands to explore, become a legendary pirate, or in this case a pirate hunter? Well, there are two survival games with that gameplay in mind, Salt and Salt 2. Both are games where you can live out the life on the seas. For this review, I played through the first game in the franchise, simply called Salt. Well, is it an action-packed pirate adventure? Let's find out. My name is Excalligator. I rate games based on many categories that would fit into most survival games, based on a 1 to 5 system. If a category does not apply, it will not affect the game's overall score. Now let us get started. So I played this game for 18 hours. I haven't killed the so-called final boss, but this game is way too massive to even expect that from me so soon. Even so, I feel like I played enough of the game to get a feel for it and to provide an accurate review. Salt is a game that I feel that is based off Zelda Wind Waker. It has cel-shaded graphics, open ocean to explore, enemies, boats you can build and find, and tons of items to collect. This is the first game of a 2-game franchise, so I started with the first game and plan to also cover the second game right after this one. This game can run on a potato. Any computer should be able to run this without issue. So I'll be honest, I don't know if I should rate this section or not. There is no official character creator. However, in your character page, you can change the color of your skin at any time, but other than that, you can't do much else. So there's a small amount of customization, but not really a full-on custom character creator. Normally, if there is no customization, I don't rate it. However, since there is, but it's very minimal, I'm gonna have to give this section a rating of 1 out of 5. So you click New Game, and you are plopped right into the starting island. The world itself is procedurally generated, but the starting island is always the same. There is no enemies and few resources. You will find your first quest giver next to a chest with some starter items, as well as a raft that you could repair to become your first vessel. I will say, the way this game plays is different to most survival games, and with a lack of tutorial, I was absolutely lost. The first time I played, I quit the game, and I didn't return until a few months later, where I tried it again to learn how to play. After figuring it out, it was much easier to progress. However, due to the fact that this game plays still a lot different than pretty much everything else, from gathering to questing and so on, with no tutorial, I'm gonna have to rate this a 2 out of 5. I also have to add that talking to the various NPCs is not obvious at first. When you talk to them, you can open up the dialogue options by pressing a little yellow question mark in the corner of the screen. If you don't know that, then you'll miss a lot. I missed out on the main quest for hours of gameplay because I didn't know that until later. Eventually, I figured it out. But I was able to start questing, talking to NPCs, getting clues, and so on. But yeah, lack of tutorial really hurts the start of this game. The exploration is interesting, but also a bit boring. The various boat vessels themselves are very fun to sail, until they crash into the land and get stuck. Then you have to spend a half hour trying to unstuck it. As you progress in the game, you will find material to craft a boat up from the raft that you originally find. After that, boats you acquire are either from repairing broken down ships or purchasing rare boats from vendors by finding rare items in the world. The map itself is procedural with many types of islands that have a chance to spawn, with either lesser or greater chance depending on how close you are to the center of the map. On that note, the map is never ending. I tried to see if I could scroll my map to the end, and it just kept going even past the 500s. You don't even show up on the map, nor do the islands. In order to track yourself, you need to use a compass and a sextant. You can use the sextant to find your location and then manually mark it on your map. You can set it so the island is either small or large. You can place markers on the island if you want to categorize them for quick reference, but you can also delve into the notes of each island and write not only anything you want, but also files and notes. So if you want to keep track of quests or what to find on the island, you can write it as expansive as you want. As I said before, there are many types of islands, from resource islands to pirate-infested ones, even some with ancient ruins, friendly settlements, dense jungles, and pirate forts. When you are exploring new islands for the first time, it is quite fun to explore, especially when you find vendors, inns, quests, hostile enemy camps, forts, and run-down ships to repair. Though I will say the towns and buildings are severely lacking. All of the buildings are the same little tiny hut that you couldn't even fit a single person into. You can't even enter them. They're also just placed down randomly so they don't even look livable. The forts look the same, just a big square wall with 2 huts on the inside or so. The only building you can enter is the inn, which has 3 rooms, one of which you can sleep in. I will say the boats are way more in-depth than the buildings, and not all of the boats have cabins. You can find all types of treasure chests, from standard ones that you can just open, to kill chests where you have to kill all of the pirates or all of the animals on the island to unlock special rewards. You also have boss battle chests, which I've managed to loot without killing the boss, but others are locked. You can even find chests that require keys and have chance to drop from enemies of the appropriate difficulty. The vendors are vast and varied. You can find blacksmiths, fishermen, general goods, hunters, and a lot more. They have a chance to spawn on islands that you find. You can trade with them for either gold, rare resources, or exclusive currency. Now, all of that I just listed, I absolutely love, but what will drop this section down a bit is the fact that when you discover one type of island, you basically have seen them all. Even if they are different shapes, a pirate island is a pirate island, a resource island is a resource island, and it all starts to become repetitive after a while, with one rare island you can find occasionally. Even then, traveling between the islands can be boring, as it's rare that music plays. Nothing really happens in the ocean. There are no sea creatures, no other ships, no events or anything. You can't even drown. Though you can swim between the islands if you wanted to without fear of dying, it would just take forever. You can find some sea treasure in the exact same way of Zelda Wind Waker, where you see a glowing circle and use a claw to grab it. Back to the land though, nighttime is also dangerous, as most islands will have spiders that spawn and will attack you from far away. The island with ruins also have cultists on them that will hit you like a truck. The cultists are tied with the final boss, so you will have to kill them at some point. But just as there is more risk at night, there is also more reward, as some resources like herbs can only spawn at night, so you have a greater reward for it. Though, I generally didn't like the fact that you couldn't see anything and the torch barely helps, so I skipped nights by sleeping. I'm gonna rate this section a 3.5 out of 5. It can be fun at times, but other times it gets a bit rinse and repeat, especially since resources are rare on non-resource islands and you have to find them on the floor rather than just chopping the trees. Rocks can only be mined from small nodes, you can't break the larger rocks. But as I said before, you can on rare occasions find rare things that make it more interesting, like when you find a jungle island, or moonstone that glows in the night. The survival of this game is a non-issue. You only have a food bar, and it really doesn't seem to affect anything. You can eat foods that buff you. You also have potions that you can find, craft, or buy. Food is the same. And sometimes you can find cooks who can cook up greater valued food. Equipment you find has no durability, except torches, which break after a decent amount of time. So you don't have to worry about a pickaxe or weapons or armor breaking. I'm going to rate this section a 3 out of 5. While the survival is a non-issue, I feel the more RPG aspect of the food buffs, armor stat bonuses, and such help a lot. There is not really a free building like other survival games. This game is kind of like Raft, where your boat is your home and you can decorate it however you want, given you have the supplies to build this stuff. You have chests to store things, beds, torches, cannons. Even better than that, when you acquire a type of vessel, you can rebuild it as many times as you want for free. You just need that initial upfront cost to unlock it, which is nice. The crafting is also pretty nice, on top of the fact that there is no encumbrance or a lock on how many items you can have. You can craft anything as long as you have the items for it. As you bring up the crafting menu, if you select an item to build with, you are given a list of recipes you could build with that item and what supplies you need. There are no workstations, so you craft all of it in your inventory, which is a pretty decent system. There is no farming, so I'm not going to rate the farming on this section, but overall, I think this section is going to be a 3.5 out of 5. The building is not a full building system, but I think it's forgiven since you can build as many boats as you want for free after the initial cost of the supplies. And you can decorate the boats too. The crafting system is also pretty good. The PvE is a bit lacking when it comes to the clashing of swords. However, it does make up for it with a more in-depth RPG system that the game has. You have several types of weapons to fight with, each with different speeds and attack power. There are also different armor sets that give you various bonus stats, set bonuses, to buff your character beyond normal. You have healing potions, weapon poisons, food that give benefits as well. The armor and weapons have rarity, just like a normal RPG. Even an MMO where it goes from green to blue to purple quality, you can find the same item of different qualities all over the world. The easiest way to find those rare items is to kill enemies or loot chests, but you can also craft your own items as well, or buy them from vendors like the blacksmith, who will offer powerful weapons that start off weak, but by using it in combat with bosses in the world, will naturally strengthen it and become legendary. You also have bows, bombs, traps, and can sneak up and backstab people with knives. There is so much more that I could list here with how in-depth this system goes, so because of that, I'm going to rate this section a 4 out of 5. While the swinging of a sword by spamming the click button isn't really that exciting, it's fun to match armor sets, make poisons, while chugging potions to stay alive, so I think it's all forgiven. This is a single player game, so there is no PvP to rate. I am going to skip this section. This game doesn't have an overall story, but there are quests you can embark on. As you explore the world, you will find reoccurring characters across the islands, such as the innkeeper, blacksmith, the fisherman, and many more. Each one of these characters have quest chains for you to complete. While there is some written dialogue for you, most of the quests are typical RPG quests to find certain items by doing certain tasks, such as killing enemies, fishing, digging up buried treasure, and so on. You can also find a lot of books throughout the world that can expand a bit of the world building, as well as teach you how to do or find many things. Even though there is not an overall story, the delivery through the quests, books, and so are a bit more than you usually get in survival games, so I'm going to give this section a 3.5 out of 5. There is no main storyline, and I'm not going to rate this section. There are several quest lines you can embark on, but they're in the same vein as old school RPG quests, where you are given a small amount of story or lore. There are hidden world bosses that are mentioned in the world, which makes you want to seek them out. From the cultist quest lines, to find and defeat the one called Dagon, to finding the rare tiger known as Lothar, and various other enemies throughout the sea. I'm going to rate the endgame a 3.5 out of 5, because even though there is an end boss to the story quest, you don't really have to do it, and even then the gameplay remains the same. It's more of a case, after so many hours, it all looks the same and feels the same. You only really need to see one island to see them all, farm the rare resources, rare currencies, and all the various item sets, and rare ships and so on. So if you're into the collection and grinding game, then this will give you many hours of enjoyment. But if you get bored of it really fast, you will not like this after a few hours. I'm someone who doesn't mind grinds, but this is a bit ridiculous. Though it's still something, so I'm going to rate it a 3.5 out of 5 because you have all of the various collection stuff that you could do, all the currencies, so it is something to do at endgame, even though it is kind of samey. There are no mods for this game, so I'm not going to rate this section. This game is finished in terms of development, as the developers are currently working on and updating the second game as of writing this review. There is also no multiplayer section, so it won't really apply to the overall score since both are not applicable. There are several bugs I encountered. One of them made the game unplayable. From being attacked and killed by enemies under the mesh of islands, boats getting stuck on the land and unable to push them more than a centimeter at a time, to never-ending spinning bug that would cause the character to spin to the left. Even opening the pause menu would cause the cursor to go to the left, though the main menu was just fine. The first time I had this, I had to completely reinstall the game to fix it. The second time I got this bug, a restart of the game seemed to help, but it's still really fucking annoying. I'm gonna have to give this section a 2 out of 5 because of that spinning bug that happened to me several times, as well as the boat running into the beach and the push mechanic that you have to push it out into the water. Normally, it's supposed to just push it out into the water. For me, it would move literally a centimeter at a time, and it would take me minutes to try to push it out if I didn't just go and rebuild the boat to be done with it. So yeah, this is gonna get a 2 out of 5. Based on the average of these scores, the overall score for this game should be a 2.8. However, I will say I did have fun with the various in-depth systems of this game, even if it was behind a wall of boredom. And while exploring the same islands over and over again was repetitive and such, I think I'm gonna give this game a break because I did have fun at some point, and I'm gonna round it up to give it an overall score of 3 out of 5. Yes, this game has a lot of issues that turned me off several times while playing it, but if you can get past those, there is something hidden under all those issues that is generally fun and long term. I can only hope the second game has expanded upon the fun systems and improved the bad ones. We'll have to wait and see. I have the game downloaded and ready to play right after this review, so if you are interested in seeing the Salt 2 review, you can subscribe to this channel, and I make all types of reviews for survival, open world, sandbox games. So don't forget to like the video, and I'll see you next time. And that is the end of this video. If you liked my review, please subscribe to this channel as I will be making more in-depth reviews of open world, sandbox, survival RPG games, including those that no one ever talks about from the deepest, darkest depths of Steam. Some games that even look like the muck at the bottom of my pond. If you have any suggestions for what game to do next, please comment below and like this video. Florida Gator Man out.